So there's a crackdown on speech, ladies and gentlemen, and coming up in this election, literally less than a month away, will be the ultimate decision of how much restriction we're going to get. And we're going to get a smidge less or a totalitarian more. Because either way you vote for, whether it being Kamala Harris and Tim Walz or Donald Trump and JD Vance, they're going to censor. They're going to censor because it's not them that are doing the censoring. It's the oligarchy that want to gain control of communication, wants to gain control of information to keep us peasants at bay, keep us in line, not be, diluted into thinking for ourselves, having our own comprehension, having our own critical skills to understand how we're being screwed over. They want to gain control. And how do I know this? Because, believe it or not, Hillary Clinton revealed the game. Hillary Clinton, the mastermind of the Democratic ethos, the Camilla DeVille. Did I pronounce that name right? Cruella DeVille. Thank you. Cruella DeVille. Of the heinous acts of the Democratic Party, once again appeared on television to give us the strict warning to, I think that's Michael Cornish of CNN, to tell us that we have to censor more because, oh my God, we're going to lose control. And not just control, total control. Listen to this.
We should be, in my view, repealing something called Section 230, which gave platforms on the internet immunity because they were thought to be just pass-throughs, that they shouldn't be judged for the content that is posted. But we now know that that was an overly simple view, that if the platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control. And it's not just the social and psychological effects, it's real harm.
It's real harm, folks. It is such real harm. Because how are we going to infiltrate with our lies if randos on the internet are going to do the lying? God, that was our job. We were supposed to be the experts. Because there's no better liar than someone in a pantsuit telling you how great and visionary they are by spewing propaganda orchestrated and made up by the CIA, by the intelligence agencies to screw over people. The fact that even this guy here on the left, look at his face. Like, he's even stunned. Oh, you just revealed a lot. Oh, she said the big one. We're supposed to say, censorship is good because it'll stop hate. And what about the kids? What about that? That's what Canada's doing. No, folks, it's all about control. Just like it's always been. Just like how the purpose of censorship, going back throughout human history, and again, I reiterate this to people. I ask this every single time. The people that are so for censorship, because there's so much hate speech and misinformation and disinformation and crap like that. Name a time in human history, any time in human history, that censorship made it better for the general public. Name a time that's actually made civilization better, that we evolved better through mass censorship. Because we wouldn't be here with the advances we have today with censorship. We wouldn't be here. We need to have free speech because free speech evolves into information, evolves into conversation, evolves into technological advances, policies, ideas, opinions. That's how you grow. But they don't want us to grow. They want us peasants to remain under the reins of nefarious ghouls like Hillary Clinton here. And since we're talking about regulation, I think someone should mention her about regulating her facelifts there, because I think it's starting to get a little too much there. You kind of see the cheekbones just like this. Just ugh. Just absolutely crazy. But it's funny that she brings up Section 230. For those who don't know, Section 230 is basically, in a nutshell, basically Section 230 is what differs these platforms like Facebook, Google, YouTube, Twitter X, Instagram, Reddit, differing them from publishers or platforms. Because if you're a platform, then you have to allow people to have speech. You have to allow people and not have these restrictions. If you're a publisher, then that gives you immunity to censor out people. And the way I see it is like a bookstore. If you own, say, a bookstore or a library, and if you're purposely taking books and rewriting them or marking out or crossing out or ripping out pages of certain books because you don't want people to read that in your bookstore, then you became a publisher. You are not a platform. You are not a store selling books. You are a publisher because you're dictating what is allowed to be on the pages. And that is why this is so vital. This is why it's so important. But Hillary Clinton is saying that, well, we have to gain control still. We still have to gain control because, God forbid, a bunch of randos on the internet with their, with their average lives are going to start, telling the truth and providing information. And then people are going to think about that information. And then, oh my God, people are going to have a lot of information to think about and use their critical thinking skills. And, they might come to their own conclusions. Because as the story goes, the biggest liars are the federal government, the corporate media, because they parrot the federal government, and then way down at the bottom is randos on the internet. Those are the biggest liars, the biggest well-known liars. And that's why I have a show. That's why other people have podcast shows to reveal all this, because this is stuff they're never going to tell you on mainstream media. And that's why they want to restrict control of what people say. Here's Kamala Harris doing the exact same thing, mentioning about X personally. Listen to this.
He has lost his privileges, and it should be taken down. And the bottom line is that you can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop.
So again, when they tell you responsibility, when they tell you that platforms like X have to be more responsible, like Facebook, Twitter, or Facebook, Instagram, or places like that, it means they have to fold more into the establishment. And that is why Elon Musk, even though he is the same billionaire that they've always loved, they love Tesla, they love the stuff he was doing beforehand, all the union cracking, all the government schemes that he's been into, all the fact that he's getting handouts by the CIA to do business offerings for them. Doesn't matter, because now that he has control of X and is a little bit more on free speech than most people, they have to crack down on him. So much so that the country of Brazil gave him an ultimatum saying that if you don't give us the reign of control of your social media platform, meaning if we don't allow to censor users on X, X will not be allowed in our country. And sadly, Elon Musk folded to that. But luckily, he hasn't folded to this. Because this is obviously clear to everybody that this is not about responsibility. This is not about determining hate speech. It's none of that. It's the fact that they want to gain control of the information so they can gain control of the general public. Because you look throughout all of human history, the times that they've used censorship, even going back to the Dark Ages, That's exactly the purpose of intent for censorship. And so that higher-ups like the lords or the kings, or in this case, politicians, the security state, can harness the control of the peasants, of the plebes, the working class folks, and control their information, control the culture, control what is being said, so that they can push their propaganda to more and more people and turn them into victims of their propagandization. That is what this is all about, folks. Here's her again saying that, social media needs to do more. We need to crack down more on social media, meaning make it less social.
We will double the Civil Rights Division and direct law enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms, because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy. And if that was the case, does that mean that the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, Mike Pompeo, Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney, any war criminal that's currently serving office, would they be kicked off social media? If we're talking about extremism, if we're talking about true hatred, and these people have pure evil hatred of humanity, these are sick, twisted, sinister people on social media. Using your jurisdiction, should they not be kicked off of social media? No, you rather kick off African Stream. You rather kick off people that actually challenge the establishment. You rather kick off people that hold things accountable, the truth tellers. This is the same people that want to eliminate Julian Assange. They want to eliminate a journalist. Why? Because he was a journalist. And they want to control what is being said. They want to determine what hate speech is, even though they don't give a clear definition. That's, again, the purpose of this. They make it so vague so that they can go after anybody and say you're hateful. You're promoting hate speech. You're considered a stochastic terrorist, as AOC would say. And once you get that verdict, once you get told that by a politician, that's it. Because people like Barack Obama got rid of habeas corpus, that the minute you get called a terrorist by a politician, you have no rights, you have no dignity, you're denounced citizenship, and you can be thrown into prison. And right now they're doing that in the UK. They're threatening people with prison sentences for posting things online. And right now they're passing bill in Canada here, almost halfway through to making it official, to do the exact same thing. So this is not just one person. This is an entire global cabal that's losing the battle on the war of information. They are losing their reign of power, their tyranny over you. Profit off of hate. If you act as a megaphone for misinformation or cyber warfare, if you don't police your platforms, we are going to hold you accountable as a community.
I can't be the only one who thinks this is not okay. It's the First Amendment. And no politician, I don't care who you're voting for, whether it's Kamala, Trump, or that one weird guy who was babbling about on stage. We don't even know where he is now. We don't even know if he's still the president. I don't care who you support, but no one should be okay with a politician saying they're going to restrict your First Amendment right on social media platforms. I don't give a fuck about mouth-breathing racists spewing hateful bullshit online. It's the First Amendment. And for the people who are like, oh, no, it's a private platform and your First Amendment doesn't count. Shut the fuck up. Yes, it does. Because this is a government telling a private company to censor people's First Amendment right on their platform. That is the same thing.
So that guy made the great point there. Because I've had numerous amount of arguments about this. Well, they're private companies and they're allowed to censor whoever the hell they want. they're allowed to kick off anyone who wants. You don't have the privilege to be on social media. So you're going to allow the government to threaten a private company to censor people. That is violation of the First Amendment. The government is using big tech companies as a front to do the bidding of who's allowed to have speech. That is the violation of the First Amendment. And I don't care what people say. I don't care what they're saying on social media, no matter how much you are disgusted by it or disagree with it, even if it is hateful, even if it is a stupid answer, even if it is misinformation. Everybody has that principle. Everybody. Because if it's not for everybody, then you don't agree with free speech. Period. There's no cookie cutter in. There's no slivering around the covers and saying, oh, this guy is allowed to have free speech, but this guy doesn't. Everybody has that principal right of free speech. And the fact the government is using big tech companies in this way is how they're disguising themselves as being the warriors, even though they're the ones violating the Constitution. Here's Tim Walz, her VP pick. Listen to him saying this.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. That's what the First Amendment is. You are allowed to hate things. I hate to bring that to people, but you know what? You're allowed to hate things. I'm allowed to say that your version of white guy tacos is embarrassing. It's goddamn embarrassing. And it's actually, I figure that hateful towards Mexicans. You Minnesota crackhead dupehead. That's what the free speech is about. And that is why it is so vital to protect not the people you always agree with, but the people you disagree with, the people you are disgusted by. Because if they crack down on those people, if they crack down on Alex Jones or Steven Crowder or Ben Shapiro or for people on the right that hate, Kim Iverson or Jimmy Dore or Russell Brand, whoever it is, doesn't matter, regardless. They crack down on those people, they're going to come after you. They're going to come after you. This is how they're doing it. This is how they're doing it. They're collecting so much data. They're collecting so much oversight over you that they can blackmail you. They can blackmail you with anything. They could deem you a racist bigot without you even knowing. Just by them doing this stuff. It's just insane. And again, name a time in anywhere in human history that censorship actually makes things better for the public. You can't. You cannot. And he's saying it's a threat to democracy. Well, congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. Your democracy was gone years ago. The democracy is such a joke in America. Such a joke in America that you barely got even a chance to vote one of your presidential candidates. They were just hand-selected, just like it's always been. And like I showed in the last clip there, it doesn't matter who's in office. Doesn't even matter. The new boss is going to be the same as the old boss because the system always flows no matter who the appearance is. The system that is screwing over workers, the system that is countlessly expanding its foreign wars, invading into countries, causing mass bloodshed, mass tyranny all across the world. And it's happening in the United States, it's happening in Canada, it's happening in the UK, it's happening in Australia, all because this is a global-wide tyranny of censorship. This is not just America, this is not just Democrats, even Trump. I hate to say this, even Trump is a bit for censorship. I know people think of him as this free speech advocate because he's vastly different than the Democrats, but he wants to crack down on college protests. He wants to make ruling they can't burn the American flag. That is part of the Constitution. Whether you like it or not, that is part of it. And again, regardless of how you feel about it, why is your speech more regarded than anyone else's? Why does anyone have to cookie cutter and determine it? It's absolutely insane. And if there is, on-site violence or leading up to, that's what police are for. We already have jurisdictions for that. That's why you go to court. That's why you get a testimony. You get transcripts of what people said so you can determine if it's actually hateful or not. They're not even doing that. They're arresting people at whim on discretion of their choosing to decide who's allowed to speak and who doesn't. And it's always the people that are criticizing the establishment, regardless if it's left or right. Because they will never crack down on, the CIA with their hateful language saying that they need to blow up another country. They're not going to crack down on those accounts. But anyone that critiques big pharmaceuticals, anyone that's, a warrior for peace, anyone that, critiques the establishment's beholding, how they're abusing workers, anyone abusing their jurisdiction powers, weaponizing the government, those are the ones that are going to get canceled. Those are the ones being called out. So it's nothing to do with protection. It's nothing to do with safety or your kids or anything like that. It's because exactly what Hillary Clinton said, they are losing control. And they are petrified. They are worried. And now they have to double down on more and more censorship because people are sick and tired of this. They're waking up to this, and they want to silence as much people out before they have to silence people out, if you know what I mean.